is with public speaking?
I'm very shy.
Shy, okay. Anything else? Yes? Please.
Nervous.
Nervous, yes. Do you know what the name is for the feeling that you get when you spend... Stress it is a kind of stress, but there's a specific name for that. Please, what? I'm sorry? Anxiety is also, it's all of it's like all of this bundle of feelings. You're probably not feeling very well, you're stressed, you're anxious. But the name for that, and that's why I'm asking, because I want to begin my presentation with that, what are the main problems and obstacles for you in terms of public speaking? For most people, the number one thing is called stage fright. That you go in front of people. Have you ever heard the term stage fright? So, that's what it's called when you stand up in front of people, in front of any number of people, and you, for some reason, can't speak, or you can't speak well, or as well as you could, if you could give it your 100%. And that's related to a couple of other things which you kind of tend to do if you're stressed out and nervous when you speak. And that generally would be a lack of confidence, because of course that if you go in front of people and you're not feeling very well, you're also probably not going to sound very confident in your ability to speak publicly. And while you're doing that, you could also be acknowledging every mistake that you make when you speak in front of people, because, well, you believe that you're probably not doing a good job because you're feeling terribly while speaking. And then, if you try to counter that, most people will have a tendency to over-prepare. For instance, you can write down the whole speech, every word, and then just focus on that and just do what you've prepared for the speech. So, there's a problem, it's a problem if you try to do public speaking, if you suffer from these things, but rest assured, there are ways to fix this, and there are ways to fight this, and you just need to be able to overcome the initial fear of going in front of people and speaking, because it's probably going to be terrible. And one of the ways in which I believe it is possible to overcome this is repeated exposure to this. If you do go out in front of people and try to speak again and again, at some point, it will wear down that fear, because you will get into a state where you will know what your performance is going to be like, you will know what the audience, how the audience responds, and you will find out, for instance, that as for your mistakes, have any of you done theater? If any of you, acted at a stage, doing theater? No. Oh, it's not that something will be required of you, so don't be afraid. It's just that there's this thing. If you're in a play, then if you've trained something, prepared a play, and you do a mistake, like you don't say something that you were supposed to, does audience notice? No. No. Does audience have the script in their hands, looking at everything that you were supposed to say? No. So it's one of the ways to think about it. The audience probably doesn't know what you were supposed to say in the first place. So if you do any mistake in terms of what you prepared and then don't meet what you prepared, don't do it well, or in your idea of what well means, then probably the audience doesn't care and it doesn't matter. So it's one of the worries that you can immediately forget about. This is not a problem at all. Most audiences actually, unless you really get a hostile audience, which happens exceedingly rarely, most audiences are actually initially a fan of you. They want you to do well, they want to be entertained. So if you speak to them, you may as well not worry about making mistakes in terms of what you prepared at all, because the best thing you can do anyway is to just move on. So it's one of the things how to fight it, apart from trying to speak very often, which is why I believe the debating competitions can be very helpful to you. Because debating competitions are not real life. There's not, at least most times, there's not too many people in the audience, and most of those people are definitely on your side who are watching you while you're debating. And if you do it over and over and over again, speaking in front of people becomes normal to you. And then of course there's a lot of other things that you can do. You can do breathing exercises, you can do, if you've ever heard anything about meditation and mastering your inner mental state, that's also helpful, because you need to also realize that these emotions should not be the master of you. You feel things, you experience things, but on some level you can distance yourself from those feelings and you just acknowledge that you have them, but do whatever you wanted to do regardless. So these are all the things how to deal with the fear and the anxiety, and definitely if you persist, I can guarantee you that in some time the fear will decrease and in some time more it will disappear. But now I would like to get to actually the tips that what you actively should be doing to be an effective public speaker. Of course, don't try to be perfect public speaker. Nobody is perfect, nothing is perfect, just perfectly good public speaker. And that is, the tip number one is definitely be confident. What do you think is necessary to be confident when you're making a speech? What is the source of confidence? So you have a topic, you need to say something about it. What will boost your confidence in regards to you and the topic?
Competence in the topic.
Competence, yes.
You need to trust yourself.
Yes, so there's always this component of your own self. You need to have faith in yourself. But that's something that can take some time to master. But what you can do definitely is the competence in the topic that you're speaking. If you know what you're talking about, that by itself is a pretty solid basis for your confidence. Of course, these things are relatively hard because you actually have to put a lot of effort into preparation, research, or attaining a lot of experience, or becoming the master of your own feelings. So while this is the ultimate goal, actually being confident on some solid basis, there are also easier ways. And my tip number 2. If you have trouble being confident, fake it. Because there are, of course, many methods and ways in which you can sound completely confident, even if inwardly you're not. Because another thing that can put your minds at ease that you need to realize is that audience are not telepaths or empaths. They cannot see your thoughts or feel your feelings. All they get is what they see and what they hear. So what you do outwardly will determine if they like what you're doing or not. They will see what you're doing. They will not see into your mind. So there are ways in which you can, even regardless of what is the content of what you're talking about, you can definitely pretend, in a sense, like actors do. It's a big part of actors' job is to essentially pretend all sorts of things. And while it's of course obvious to anyone here that actors, if they're for instance playing a psychopath serial killer, don't actually have to become a psychopath serial killer to be able to act it. So you can act confident without actually internally completely being confident. And then of course, becoming confident is something that will sort of happen to you if you persist at that for some time. So how do you pretend that you're confident? And it has all to do with the elements of style of your speech. Has any one of you done a recitation of poetry or interpretation of a text before? So raise your hands, who has done something like that? Okay? So I definitely recommend that as an exercise. Because if you want to be, not only if you want to be better at debating, but also better at any other kind of speech, what is very good as an exercise is doing recitation, or take a text that's a piece of prose or poetry and try to read it in such a way that is interesting. Well, for one, you don't have to come up with it. Somebody has already come up with the text, that's good. And you just can take it, and then you can do that and see how people that are your audience, it could be just a few friends at first, how they respond to you reading, or in the sense you shouldn't sound like you're reading it, but interpreting or reciting the text. And there's a lot of technical elements like these which can really signify confidence without any other information for the audience. It's like the volume and the tempo. You may have noticed that I am trying to maintain a rather high volume of speech because I want everybody to listen to me and hear me, but also because if I talk really quietly, I would sound nervous and like I'm probably not confident. So just by the volume of the speech, if you really do speak at the right volume, you already sound reasonably confident, because how would a person who's not confident manage to speak loudly? Because it's one of those things that minds of audience members unconsciously do get, and that's that if you speak at a certain volume, and if your tempo is right, of course, tempo is important because you don't want to speak very slowly, and also you don't want to speak so fast that people won't be able to hear what you're saying. So you need to find the right speed, because if you're speaking too fast, you may sound nervous. If you're speaking too slow, you also don't exactly sound well confident or alive. So it's very important to find the right balance. And this is a completely technical skill. This is something you can practice in front of a mirror while no people are around, and you can just watch yourself and listen to yourself until you yourself see that you're doing it right. Eye contact. Eye contact is very important, because if you're talking to people and you're not actually looking at them, it also makes you seem either evasive or aloof, like you don't care. If I was just making this presentation, speaking to the ceiling or to the floor, then probably it wouldn't be as effective, and I wouldn't seem necessarily as confident. And I've also already started doing the other thing, and that's posture. If you take this posture like a hunchback of Notre Dame kind of thing, and if you close yourself with your hands, you also don't seem confident, because you seem like you're protective of yourself. And this is a thing that also you can become aware of, and then just don't do. And there's a lot of other things, especially as speakers sometimes try to do in a debate, which I try to demonstrate here. If you are debating, and there's generally a speaker's table in front of you, then what you may have a tendency to do, but really should not, is that you just, lock yourself like that, and you have a paper down here, and so you're looking into the paper, and you're debating like that. And just occasionally just look like that, and then just look down again. Or if you have a paper, and you have something prepared, some notes, and if you're just reading it, oblivious to the fact that audience exists. So the basic things that are just, technical elements that you can clearly identify and become aware of, that if you do right, it's something that just works. It's just better than the alternative. One of those that's more elusive is proximity. It's even a discipline called proxemics. It's also about how far you are from your audience, or what kind of movement you're making towards them. Right now, I'm intentionally located among you, because in this space I don't have many good options where to stand, but I could, for instance, try to speak to you from a bit of a distance. Then if there's a wall and you're just at the wall there, then you also don't seem very confident, because you seem like you want to escape the room. You don't look like you're actually talking to the people. I've seen a lot of debate speakers that are some of the more experienced ones. For instance, go not in front, not behind the speaker's table, but walk around it and stand in front of the speaker's table, closer to the judges and the audience. And the effect, if you also follow all the other elements of speech, was very effective, because they suddenly felt that they're closer to the audience than the rest of the debaters, and that they're more direct in their approach. Then, of course, what I'm trying to do this whole time are gestures and various expressions that you can make. This is a bit of it's not just about confidence. You can use gestures and facial expressions to do essentially anything. In terms of confidence, of course, it's better to be more upbeat, to be more smiling, because if you're just very grim and talk to people like that, then also you don't seem extremely confident in what you're talking about. It seems more like you actually don't want to be there and doing what you're doing. So it's better because people like smiles, so, well, you shouldn't move it into the creepy territory, it's like... because this is just like looking like an alien who's trying to eat you. So you don't do that necessarily, but you're trying to be positive, even if it's not through smiles. You need to have some sort of positive energy. And that's something that you can also fake. You don't actually have to be internally happy, so that you can seem happy outwardly, but the disclaimer, I'm actually rather introverted internally, so it can work both, but the thing is, it's all acting. So a big part of how confidence works is acting.